So ever since I've been young, I've been a really, really curious person. I was always the person when I was younger who would probably be known for asking the most questions. I was genuinely curious about how everything worked. So if someone gave me a piece of information, I would literally want to know the ins and outs of how something works, like why it worked. And people generally got quite frustrated with this. And I actually got known when I was younger for literally the person who asked too many questions. I was super curious. After a few years of this happening and being shut down, or being told that it was a bad thing to be asking too many questions, that's what I felt like. I kind of was very conscious of how I spoke to people and how I interacted with people, because I didn't want to come off the wrong way. This throughout my life until now, how I'm obviously now building this personal brand where I'm constantly following my own curiosities, this has completely changed. So in this video I want to talk about curiosity versus compliance, because I think it's really interesting as a creator or somebody who puts out a valuable message into the world through content to understand. Because as creators, we are deeply curious people who follow our interests. Once we have a passion and an interest in something, you want to go as deep as you can into that interest with a curious mind. And obviously if we don't have curiosity, then that creates and breeds compliance, which is just basically how many people end up like drones that end up not having any creativity in their life and fall on this track of doing something they end up not wanting to do for the rest of their life. So I obviously went against that, like a lot of other people have. Yeah, I just wanted to share a bit of a personal story about that. So in today's day, creativity is like the new oil. If you remember back years ago, oil was the valuable resource. Everybody was mining for oil. It was the thing that everybody wanted. And now that new oil is creativity, because creativity is where we are able to express our message, our value, and create attention. And attention in this new digital economy, or creator economy, whatever you want to call it, is the most valuable resource that every single person wants who is trying to build a personal brand, grow a business, whatever it is. Attention is the new currency, if you like. And creators, I feel, are at the center of this attention age, where we're kind of like our own little media stations. So just like the BBC and all these other news sites and TV channels used to be your source of where you go and get information on a specific thing, we're now going to specific creators for that information. Years ago, I would go and watch a specific channel on cable TV about a specific topic, a specific subject, to get a specific answer to my questions. But now, with the rise of the creator economy and people making YouTube channels, sharing and building audiences on all these different platforms, we are essentially our own little media channels, and we're putting out content, valuable messages and information based on our own curiosities and interests, which help answer people's problems, or solve problems, should I say, and answer the questions that some people have. And it's real specific as well. So you probably follow certain creators and certain individuals online for a specific type of content or a specific thing you're after. For instance, I listen to a lot of Joe Rogan podcasts. I love Joe Rogan. And I go to him because I want to immerse myself and listen to who he is talking to and absorb their knowledge and almost be a fly on the wall. And I love that sort of stuff. Same with Mr. Beast. I go to Mr. Beast and watch his channel because I want to be entertained. I think his video editing and video creation skills are next level. So I go to him for that specific reason. And you may have other people you look up to for similar reasons. That's really important to understand, that in this new economy, this new digital space, we are, as creators, essentially these little mini media platforms. I actually have a quote here as well from somebody I found recently through someone called Naval, and he is a genius. And he says, today in society you get rewarded for creative work. People used to get rewarded for hard manual labor and putting in the hours, and people still, obviously with a 9-to-5 job and stuff like that, you get paid for the hours that you put in. You don't get paid for your creative thinking. You get literally paid for how many hours you sit behind a desk or shovel dirt or whatever it is that the job entails. That's you get paid based on how many hours you work, not the ideas that you create. And what Naval is basically saying, or how I interpret it, is that you get paid or rewarded for creative work or for creative thinking and using your mind as a resource to solve problems for people is where the most wealth will be built going forwards. And like we just talked about before, about people being individual media channels, there's some people that predict that Mr. Beast, Joe Rogan, Jake Paul will be billionaire creators in the future, because of their distribution and their access to a very specific audience. It is crazy. And they managed to do this, I think, is because they have a few different things going on. So they obviously have a very unique skill set, whether that is based on their personality, whether it is they solve a very specific problem for someone. They obviously have digital leverage, and they have distribution. So when I say distribution, I mean they have very prominent audiences and presences on platforms. That is super valuable for people. And I actually remember Mr. Beast saying on a podcast or a talk about how somebody approached him asking to buy his company for, I think it was in the billions in terms of like evaluation, and he turned it down, which I think is a very, very good indicator of where the creator economy is going, because he is a very smart man. Jimmy Donaldson is a very smart dude. He obviously knows the value of his channel, and the brand that he's built is worth way more than what somebody offered to buy it off him for. And it'd be a shame actually if somebody did buy his channel, because it's a very personality driven channel, and they ended up commoditizing it and asking him to do loads of seasons that were like aired on certain channels and stuff. When big investors get involved in things, sometimes I think it can actually ruin the overall impact of a personal brand built on like your own little media channel. And that's one of the reasons as well, I think the creators that do well and like excel in this new economy are the ones that are authentic, the ones that are transparent, and they're basically just themselves. And that is how you escape like the competitive rat race, if you want to call it that. So if you are looking for a way to get out of the 9 to 5 and you want to basically do more of what you enjoy and earn a living out of it, just know it is actually possible. And there also are people who are looking for ways to get out of their current lifestyle and want to change it. It's very interesting looking at this new economy and following people that have already done it. And it's hard to look at people like Mr. Beast and Joe Rogan and stuff, because they have literally millions of followers, like, I don't even know how many hundreds of millions they have. They're so far ahead, it's almost hard to learn from them because they don't have the beginner's mindset, I don't think. If you're looking to get into the creator economy and start creating content and building your own personal brand and stuff like that, the stuff we talk about on this channel, you are probably best looking at a creator who is like 1 or 2 steps just in front of you, because they still have that beginner mentality and that beginner mindset. They can basically light the way for you and show you the steps that you need to follow to get where they are. And that could apply to anyone, whether you follow me or a different creator or somebody you look up to and you think, God, I wish I could do that for a living. You don't need to look at someone who has got millions and millions of followers, because sometimes that, to me, is scary and it almost doesn't seem doable. Whereas somebody who has maybe a smaller audience than you, or they're doing something that you want to do, but is only a few steps in front of you, it makes it very realistic for you to achieve. And when you're building an audience as a creator, you have an infinite advantage over, say, a big business or how business used to be. It's getting harder and harder now for big businesses and anyone to figure out who their audience is. Now, we've always said that your niche is you. So this took me years to figure out, the fact that you essentially are your own niche. So we're always told that when you start a brand or a business, that you pick a niche, you pick a very targeted audience, you drill down into the demographics, you figure out exactly what their struggles are, their challenges are, what they eat for breakfast, what kind of coffee they drink, what their struggles are, blah, blah, blah. So you know them down to a T, which can be quite hard to do and quite tiring. When you actually understand that the problems that you are solving for yourself almost creates your own niche, creates your own mini niche. And that's what I've only just realized after 5 or 10 years of being in marketing and building this brand. You don't need to have a target audience and build something that is way out here. You can literally just target yourself, target the person that you used to be, because you've already solved those problems and there's probably people behind you who are looking for that solution. So when it comes to audience building, the creator economy kind of flips the whole product market fit on its head. Whereas years ago, people would be building a product and then looking for a market to sell that product to. When you build an audience as a creator, you literally have a very specific type of person who follow you, who love what you do, and you simply ask them what they want, and then you have a market product fit. So you're essentially just creating a product for the market rather than trying to fit a product into a market, if that makes sense. Am I saying that right? Either way, whatever it is. But it's way easier, way easier to create value, way easier to get success, and do more of what you enjoy for a living. But I would embrace your curiosity. So if you are a curious mind like I was and I still am, embrace it. Don't fall for this thought that you have to not ask questions, not pursue what you're curious about, don't pursue what interests you. Go after whatever interests you and you're curious about, and just like hit it hard and go all in on it. Curiosity is where the new wealth is, and creativity is where all the rewards will be. And then use that power to build a personal brand and an audience from it. If you're interested in building an audience on Instagram, don't forget to grab my Instagram growth guide below. It's got some tips in there for the things that I've used to grow my personal brand and see like follow account go crazy sky high on that platform just by using the 10 simple tips in that guide. It's real short, it's real simple to implement. Just start doing it and you'll see your Instagram account grow. But there's obviously different platforms we can grow on. I have mainly grown my audience so far on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube. And yeah, they're the main places that I'm most active. But I hope this video was useful to you. Anybody who wants to start embracing their creativity and curious mind, don't stop, keep going. Find people that inspire you. Find a select number of mentors who are like just ahead of you. Follow them, figure out what they're doing, reverse engineer it, and go forth.